Hello Hazel class. So today is Thursday the 23rd of April 2020. We are learning to plan to write a wishing tale. So for today's learning, what we're going to do is we're going to have another look at our fantastics. We've got our feeling, asking, noticing, touching, action, smelling, tasting, imagining and checking. We're going to be planning a story and then we're going to be using some of our plot points to put along in our story. Before we do so, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make a plan. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a story plan using a story mountain. So if you haven't got your things ready now, could you please pause the video and make sure you go and get a pencil and your books or something to write on. Okay, pause the video now and I'll pop up my story mountain. Okay, so here is my story mountain. The words might be a little bit hard for you to read, but I'll read it out. So we've got our opening, our build-up, our problem, our resolution, and our ending. Okay, so I'm going to plan a brand new story and you can plan along with me. You can either keep my plan that I'm doing or you can change it and do your own plan as we go. Okay, so I've already made a start here, as you can see. My opening, I've already chosen my character, and my character is going to be an old woman. So my character is an old woman, and I think this old woman could live somewhere by the sea. So my old woman is going to be living in a cottage, so I'm just going to write on there the word cottage, and she's going to be by the sea. By the sea. Don't worry if you can't see this, I will film it closer towards the end of the video. So we've got an old woman in our opening, living in a cottage by the sea. It is a wishing tale, so I wonder what could happen before she gets to her problem. Maybe this old woman who is, I think she doesn't have too much to eat. So we could say, leaving in our opening bit at the moment, that she only has bread and butter to eat. Yes, I think that's a really good opening. I'm sure when I go to plan a bit more and I come back to it and add on there some adjectives, it's starting out to be a really good story. So my build-up then, I think for my build-up, we could have this old woman feeling really hungry and going to bed on an empty stomach. So for the build-up then, we could say the old lady or the old woman is very hungry. She goes to bed. I know, maybe she goes to bed and she makes a wish. She could make a wish because it is a wishing tale after all. She could wish for more food. So our old lady is very hungry. She goes to bed and she makes a wish. I think in the morning that wish could come true. I wonder if that wish coming true could be a problem. So, the build-up. The wish comes true. I think the old lady could have a fish in the morning. So she could have a fish magically appear with her bread and her butter, so she's got something to eat. So her wish comes true. A fish appears in the kitchen. So our problem then, maybe our old woman could become very, very greedy. So let's write that on our story mountain. The old woman becomes greedy. Okay, she goes to bed again that night and she wishes for more and more fish. So the problem wishes for more fish. I reckon when she makes these wishes that she gets far too much fish. That could be a problem. So too much fish. I've wrote that in capital letters there. Too much fish. So we know that is the problem. How are we going to solve this problem then? Maybe she could go back and she could make a new wish that she doesn't have all of this food and all of this fish. I wonder if she could ask, maybe she makes a wish and asks a fairy. Let's pop that in our build-up. Asks a fairy. It's okay to come back to one of your sections to add some more detail on there if you think of something as you get further and further around the mountain. So the resolution, she could ask the fairy for help. Okay, I wonder if the fairy's going to help her. She could go to bed, make another wish, ask the fairy for help. What might the fairy do? I reckon the fairy grants her another wish. I think so. So grants her another wish. But this time, the old woman has got to promise not to be ever so greedy. Okay, so fairy grants her another wish. She must not be greedy. Okay, so she must not be greedy anymore. I wonder what this brand new wish could be. I think in the morning, the old woman could wake up with a fishing net. Yeah, I'm going to draw the fishing net on there actually, because that's going to help me remember. So the resolution, the old woman gets a net. So the old woman gets a net. So she's got a fishing net. This resolution is brilliant because now in our ending, our old woman could use that fishing net to catch fish as and when she needs to. So she doesn't have to have too much fish. She doesn't have to be very hungry. The ending, I'm going to put a big smile on there. It could be a happy ending because she could catch as many fish as she wants. Catch as many fish as she wants. Okay, I'm going to pause the video there for a second, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera a little bit closer so you can see our story mountain before we try and put this story into our plot points. Okay, so I'm going to pause it now. If you haven't finished your story yet, keep the video paused, and what you can do is you can finish your story mountain. Okay, so here is our story mountain. We have got our opening. We've got the old woman who only has bread and butter to eat. She lived in a cottage by the sea. The build-up. The old lady is very hungry and she goes to bed and she makes a wish. She asks a fairy to grant her wish. We have then got our problem. The problem is that she wishes for more and more and more, and the old woman becomes very, very greedy. Because the old lady becomes very, very greedy, she asks for more and more fish every night, and she ends up with too much fish. So our resolution, she asks the fairy for help. A little bit like in King Midas when he goes back to the fairy boy and asks the fairy boy to help. Well, the fairy in our story grants her another wish, but she must not be greedy anymore. The fairy grants the old woman a new fishing net. So in the end, the old woman is able to catch as many fish as she wants. I wonder if she will continue to be greedy or not. Hi, I've been really busy whilst I've had my video paused. I have been making lots and lots of little pictures ready to put up along our story plan. So we're going to plot our story. We're going to put the plot points in. Do you remember we have our plot points from 0 to 5 and from 0 to -5. So we've got our negative plot points and we've got our positive plot points. And I just nearly knocked my picture off the wall there. Okay, so we're going to start with our opening. So there was once an old woman who lived in a cottage by the sea. Is this negative or positive? Have a think about it. Pause the video there for 1 second. So here is my little picture of the old lady, the cottage and the sea. I think I'm going to put this one as a positive. I don't think it's really, really positive, but I think it's about a 2 or a 3. Okay, so thinking back to our fantastics, I've also got some of our fantastic stickers here, and what I'm going to do on there is I'm going to plot my fantastic. I think it is a noticing. The old lady lives by the sea in a cottage. I think that is definitely a plot point of 2 to 3 with a noticing fantastic. Okay, so I've popped on one of these. The next part of the story then. Okay, the old lady wasn't very happy. She only had some bread and some butter. This is definitely got to be a negative. This is still in our opening, so I'm going to pop it down here. I'd say that was definitely a negative 3 to 4 because she is quite hungry. I think this is a feelings fantastic because it's not a happy feeling, but it is definitely an emotional sad feeling. She has got a terribly sad face there. So I'm going to pop our feelings sticker on there. I've used this one. Okay, the next part of our story then. The old lady went to bed and she wished for some food. So she was wishing for some more fish. I think this has got to be somewhere up here because she is definitely very hopeful. It's not up at the top because she's not quite got her magic fish and she's not quite got her food. It's not a negative because she is very positive and she's very hopeful. I would say this one was an imagining. So I'm going to pop an imagining on here. Okay, so we've got an imagining +2 or a +1. You can decide when you do your plot points. Okay, so the next part of the story, she wishes for a fish. A fairy comes in. So this is definitely a positive. I'm going to show you the picture actually. I didn't show you it. So we've got a little picture of a wand. A fairy comes in. I think this is definitely a +5. Okay, the fairy comes in and grants her a wish. So I would say this was definitely a I don't know on this one actually. Maybe it is an asking. I think it's got to be an asking because she's wishing and she's asking the fairy for a wish. So I've got, whoops, you can't see that there. I got my asking sticker. I'm going to pop this on here, and I think that was an asking and a +4 or 5. Okay, so the next morning, this has definitely got to be a positive. The old lady wakes up and she has a fish. How cool is that? A fish on her kitchen table with her bread and her butter. I'm going to pop this up here as a +5. I'm also going to have our tasting sticker. Tasting. I'm going to pop that one on there. So that's our plot point, +5 and a tasting. It's not quite the problem yet. It's over, in fact, it's up here. It's still our build-up. So it's looking like it's in the problem part, but not yet. Okay, so the next part of the story, I reckon the problem now starts when the old lady goes to bed, wishes for some more fish again, gets quite greedy, and then in the morning she wakes up, she's really happy, she has 2 more fish. This is where the problem starts. She's still happy, so it is still a +5, and I'm going to pop that on as a tasting again. So we've got the tasting, +5. The next part of our story then, the old lady gets really greedy still. This is going to be definitely a negative. She makes a wish for some more fish, and guess what? Oh no, lots and lots of fish. This has got to be a huge problem for her. So I'm going to pop that down as a -5. I wonder which one of our fantastics we could pop on there. A feeling, an action, a noticing, an asking, a noticing, a touching, action, smelling, tasting, imagining, or checking. I think that would be a noticing. She's woke up in the morning and she's noticed there are far too many fish in the kitchen, and it's definitely a -5. So I'm going to pop on there another one of our noticing plot points. -5. There we go. So the next part of the story then, the old lady goes to bed and she wishes that she doesn't have all of that fish in her house. She is quite upset still. So I think this is going to be an asking, and I'm going to pop it here on -1. So we've got that down there, and we're going to choose another fantastic sticker. So we're going to have an asking -1. Pop our sticker on there. Okay, so the next part of the story then, in comes the fairy. The fairy's wish. The fairy is back. This is our resolution. Is the fairy going to grant our wish? She asks for no more fish. I think this is a +4. I think +4 because the fairy grants the wish, because the fairy is going to say to the old lady, no more being greedy. That is it now. So she's going to grant the wish. There's definitely another asking. And the fairy is also asking the old lady, please don't be greedy anymore. So the next morning, when the old lady wakes up, ta-da, she has a fishing net. Can you see in my picture? She's got a smile. So we're going to pop this one as quite a happy feeling. So we'll say she's a positive. Positive 4, I reckon. Again, I think that's another feeling. So I'm going to get my feeling sticker out. So a plot point, a feeling, and plot point 4. Positive 4. So now we just need our ending. Is our ending going to be sad or is it going to be happy? It looks as though our ending is going to be quite happy. She's got a smile on her face here. So if we have a look at my last picture, there's the old lady, how happy she is, right by the sea with her fishing net. Going to pop this one up as a positive 5. So she's right up here at the top for our ending. So that is a positive 5. What plot point do you think we should have on there? Pause the video now whilst you have a think. I'm going to pop this up so you can see. I am going to go with an action. This is definitely an action part of our story because the old woman is now having to fish and she's able to get just as many fish as she needs for the day. No more being greedy. So that's an action 5. I think I'm quite pleased with our story. So if you would like, you can use my story to help you do your planning today, or you can plan your very, very own. Okay? There we go. Take another look and see if you can see, and see if you can retell my story. You might want to press the microphone button on the template and you could retell my story, or you could retell your own. Well done, Year 3. That was some great learning today. Now it's your turn. You need to go and plan your story maps. I've got a challenge for you though. If you would like to complete the challenge once you've finished your story map or your story mountain or your boxing up plan, could you please go and add some exciting adjectives? My adjective that I'm going to choose for today to describe my old lady, I think I'm going to describe her as greedy. So I'm going to add my adjective to my board, and so she is going to be the greedy old grumpy, definitely grumpy down here when she wasn't having enough food. So the greedy grumpy old lady. Your turn.